All right, everybody, tuning into our next segment here. We got live callers calling in, talking about, is the left-handed protest a form of racism? We got Cameron on the line. Cameron, where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Cameron Osborne. I'm calling from Springfield.
Springfield. I know a few ladies down there. I don't think they like me very much anymore. But anyway, Cameron, what do you think of the left-handed protest?
I have to say I'm all in support. For too long have us lefties been resulted in having to use right-handed scissors, having to draw on right-handed ledgers of paper, having to use things that you don't even consider. Right-handed nail clippers. I think it's time that us lefties are treated as equals.
All right, thanks for the opinion, Cam. We got another caller on the line in response to Cameron. This is Carl. Carl, where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Carl. I'm also calling from Springfield.
Do you happen to know Cameron?
I don't think so. You know, there's a lot of Springfields. I think there's which Springfield are you thinking about specifically?
Anyway, Cameron, Carl, let's get on to the point here. We're on hot air here. What do you think of Cameron's response?
Well, you know what I gotta say. I think that's total bullshit. For us to make two different kinds of scissors, it would topple the industry as we know it. Two different sets of scissors, two different sets of ledgers for children to write their elementary school documents on. This is just too much. Where does it stop? What's next? A left-handed car?
Where does it stop? You're right, Carl. Up next, we're going to be talking about RBs, black or yellow. Coming up next.
Continuing
Tonight on Two Cees in a Pod.
96.7 on your... Two Cees in a pod, 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 two Cees just like two Cees in a pod, because we're two Cees in a pod, just like two Cees in a pod, two Cees in a pod at gmail.com. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show here, folks. This is another week of the Two Cees in a Pod podcast. Of course, your favorite drive time radio show hosted by two of your favorite drive time. You know what? I would be pressed for you listeners at home, folks. Of course, you can reach to us at twoceesinapod at gmail.com. I would wonder if you have another podcast featuring two hosts with the same name that you actually like more. I think you would be hard to find that because, of course, my name is Cameron Osborne. I'm sitting across the way from my co-host, Cam LeClaire.
Cameron LeClaire.
And
that's right.
We are dominating the mono-named podcast duo
genre,
market.
Yeah, check out the stats on iTunes for that mono name. But it has to be two of the same people with two of the same name from the same province. That was it's very niche.
Very, very specifically niche, of course. We're getting all sorts of course, like I said before, you can reach out to us at twoceesinapod at gmail.com. We've been getting a lot of fetish-type responses. Both men and women of all ages telling us, their fantasy is to be with two people of the same name at the same time.
From the same province.
From the same province. Very, very niche-like. And it's been an incredible response. I gotta say, Cam, I think just our current logistics wouldn't make that feasible. We live in different cities. I don't really have a vehicle.
You're in stage 1. I'm in stage 2 of lockdown. So, that's a pretty big deal.
I'm in stage 1. You're in stage 2? Oh, you mean our specific different areas. So we got to say, all those folks, keep reaching out, though, if you do have any fetishes related to being with two partners of the same name from the same province or state. Let us know, twoceesinapod at gmail.com.
Right on. So what's cracking this week, big fella?
We
got some fun stuff.
We had a great week here in the city of Toronto. Of course, life keeps moving on. Like we said, received a bunch of these emails. It was tough to decipher through specifically all the emails that we got this week. So I don't think we can actually mention any of them on air. A lot of them are pretty risque too.
A lot of them complaining too about trying to kick one of us off the show.
Yes, and the crowd seems to be pretty split, 50-50. Half of them want you gone, half of them want me gone. We're really kind of waiting for the scales to tip in a particular favor, and then the show can kind of predominantly belong to one of us.
Yeah, just like the whatever that show, the Daddy's show, Call Her Daddy.
Yes.
The Formidable Split. I wonder if they lost a bunch of viewership from that.
I'm sure. I mean, like,
or did it gain attention just because like any media is good media, like they say?
Maybe a bit of both. I wonder. I'm sure there are certain shows, whether it is a podcast or whether it's a television show or a movie. You lose a star of the franchise. It's not like more people heard about that podcast because of the lack of that person. They already had their audience. It's like nobody's gonna start watching 2.5 Men just because Ashton Kutcher is there. You were already.
I disagree.
You were already watching 2.5 Men with Charlie Sheen.
I think what would have happened with that is like you lose 2.5 Men viewers who like Charlie Sheen, but you like people who like Ashton Kutcher. Like, sick, I'm on board with this.
Yes, of course, as we know, the millions of fans out there.
That's not still going on, is it?
And the millions of fans out there in 2010 who said to themselves, "I fucking love Ashton Kutcher. This is sick." Because we hadn't, we're probably 6 years removed from that 70s show, and our Ashton fix, we were jonesing.
Didn't he get married to one of his co-stars on that 70s show?
Yeah, Mila Kunis, the woman who plays Jackie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jackie, yeah. It took for so long until you realized they were smoking pot in that circle.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until well after the show was over. My mind never just went there. I just thought it was like...
I mean, it just kind of seems like a circle.
It just kind of seemed like a circle of people saying stupid things, and then I wondered to myself, like, oh, was my pot use really, like, blocking me from even seeing that, making that connection?
Oh, so you were smoking pot at the time that you were watching that show and still didn't pick up on it?
At one point, yeah. I mean, certainly when the show came out. I think the show came out in the late 90s, where I certainly would not have been smoking pot, but I can definitely remember in high school watching that show and did not get it. I didn't think
Does that one hold the test of time? Did that show hold it?
I was never... I know a lot of people who are big That 70s Shows fan. It was just never something that really crossed my radar.
Yeah.
Growing up, or like, late 90s, early 2000s. My dad used to watch it occasionally, so I would see it when he... Yeah, it just never really crossed my radar. I think I was like just a little bit too young. Probably would have been like when that show was hitting its prime, I was probably like 11 or 12.
Yeah, so pretty young still.
I
mean, but I think it was like, I never watched it, but I'm pretty sure the content was pretty just like slapstick humor. Like, look at the pickle we got into this time. So pretty relatable to anybody.
It was a standard sitcom, I think, in that way, right? Was that there was like, the A story and the B story. Yeah. And you had a bunch of characters that had a bunch of different opinions. And at the end of the episode, broadly and generally, everything was resolved and everybody's happy. Standard kind of sitcom form. Oppose the odd episode, which you will see in shows like That 70s Show, The Office, whatever it may be. Those a couple episodes don't always end on a happy note, but they usually do.
I liked Malcolm in the Middle from that time period. That had some absolutely fantastic... even Bryan Cranston is surprisingly one of the main characters in it, which you would not expect looking back on it. But some of the plot lines in that, I think, just related so well to boys growing up and just doing the dumbest things they could to pretty much entertain
what
themselves.
You were going through. Yeah, you know what? That's another show for me that just never hit home.
You're missing out. That one had some classics to it.
Yeah, I'm sure I could watch it and LOL.
Yeah. Yeah, there hasn't been, I don't know, there's not many sitcoms that really struck a chord with me that I'm like, I mean, Seinfeld, that was a great one. I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into Frasier?
No. Same thing.
So
came out when I was too young.
Yeah.
And then never chose to watch it.
That one just seemed like it had kind of weird humor to it that I feel like I wouldn't have understood. Maybe I'm just wrong, and I actually probably would have very well, but I don't know. It seemed like it had
you're an adult now. You're an adult now. You probably remember everything.
Not going back.
No, you're not. That's a good point. As an adult, you're making the decision, hey, fuck this. I don't have to do this.
No, definitely don't have to go back and watch Frasier.
I don't have to.
If I'm gonna stick on one thing, that's the one thing I'm gonna hold to.
Yeah, I don't have. I'm not gonna put on airs and pretend to go watch and go back and watch Frasier. No, go fuck yourself.
I might do. It's funny because I feel like there's some shows that have been really good, like The Wire, that I've just never done. But I hear from every person, they're like, "Oh, you gotta do it," and I'm kind of down. I think I've waited the long enough period where I'm like, "All right, maybe I can start doing this."
I've waited long enough, folks at home. What should Cam start watching? Please don't spoil The Wire for him too, because there's some hot moments in that. And although, Cam, I think last week we were talking about when that spoiler window should end, right? Like 10 years after it fucking happened. Like there has to be an end point.
For a movie release, I say 6 months.
No, that's not. That's really.
You think?
No, I think we need at least a year. We need at least a year of released in post theater format. You know, like it's
post theater.
Yeah, because it has to have, like, you know, because if you can't make it to the movie, like,
oh, that's a good point.
You may not want to pay $18 to see a movie that might not be good, right? You wait for it to come up on Amazon Prime, on your Netflix, on whatever your Hulu's, whatever you have, and then you have a year to spend 90 minutes and watch it.
No, then you have a year to not spend it, and then in that time period, you're allowed to yell at someone and go, "You're a dickhead, you spoiled the movie for me," and then give them a slap on the face.
Of course, because that's what you should be doing. Especially, Cam, have I ever told you my my Harry Potter spoiler story?
No.
Have I told this on the podcast? No. Maybe I haven't.
No,
So it was the year, and again, we got the spoiler time frame has passed. So whichever Harry Potter it is that Dumbledore does, I think it's the Order of the Phoenix.
Whoa, bro!
Or the next one, I can't really recall, but
yeah, I never saw.
But anyways, my stepsister
he was
and I,
bound to. He was pretty old.
My stepsister and I are reading these books at the same time. And I think she must have had an X amount of a head start on me because she was much further ahead, and she was just being a little brat and would tell me what was happening next in the story. Nothing big, but like just small enough plot info that you're like, oh, I wanted to read that myself.
Right.
And she kept doing it. My parents kept telling her stop, and then she kept doing it. I never complained to my parents. I never tattled on her for doing it. They were just in the vicinity and could tell I was like, you know, like, hey, stop spoiling this book for them. Anyways, our week, we're at a cottage, so you can just read a bunch, and our week goes by pretty quickly, and I finish this book, and at the end of it, or somewhere towards the end of the novel, Dumbledore dies. Can't remember how. I'm gonna say Voldemort smacks him with his wand right across the face or something like that. And my stepsister, who did not know that I had gotten to this point in the book yet, she comes back at me with another spoiler of something. This person was this, that person was that. And I look her square in the face and say, "Oh yeah, well, Dumbledore dies at the end."
Damn.
It was
good.
After a week of I asked her not to. Our parents said, "Hey, don't do this. It's not going to end. This is not going to end well." And I just remember the waterfall of tears. I remember nothing else from this week that we spent at a cottage.
That's the best Gotham moment ever.
I only remember how loud the crying was.
Yep.
How long it lasted for, like the specific pitch. I can hear it.
Yeah.
It was
hear it today.
I can still hear it today. It was truly incredible. And like you said, just the penultimate.
It's so worth it. That's the best feeling ever.
Yes, the penultimate gotcha moment.
Did we talk about this last week, where if it's a historical event that you can spoil it or not? So if I read books that are like from like 1812, right? It's the one I'm reading about. It's about a whale and shit. So I don't know what happened in Moby Dick, and this is the book about like what the real story of Moby Dick, not the fictional book of it. Is it okay to spoil Moby Dick at this point?
I would say books are talk about books less, so you're gonna stumble upon a book spoiler. It's gonna be far more difficult to stumble upon that, right? Where in just kind of day-to-day conversation that you may have,
people don't read as much, I guess.
You could make a quick Breaking Bad spoiler just under the assumption that we've all seen it and blah blah blah, and maybe it's a reference to something else which took place, but you wouldn't really say if you were approaching a novel. I feel like I wouldn't assume that you've read the particular book I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so you'd always
There's a lot of books out
you would
there.
always preface it with the question, have you read
To Kill a
blank,
Mockingbird,
To Kill a
which I think almost everybody in Ontario probably has.
I never did, but I know that it's like a book about race, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about,
I get the general.
You get the idea. What books you have to read in school?
Black Man on Trial. We didn't do Lord of the Flies in grade 9.
Yeah, read that one. Yeah, that was a fun one.
I think grade 10 was Animal
Catcher in the
Farm
Rye?
and 1984.
George Orwell. Wow, double down.
Yeah, because those are both shorter books. We did do Catcher in the Rye, so I'm going to say that's grade 11. Then grade 12.
Catcher in the Rye, boring as shit.
Boring as shit. Oh my god, it's
Yeah.
the worst. It's the
Just
worst.
like, so you don't do anything for 12 days, and then the book ends. You're like, there's no resolution. It's just a bunch of teen angst.
I've never wanted to punch a kid more than reading that. I've never wanted to punch somebody more than like reading that book.
Oh my god, it's just so miserable.
It was so miserable. Let us know, folks. Did you find any enjoyment in Catcher in the Rye? twoceesinapod@gmail.com. I can't remember what I read in grade 12, but my when I victory lapped and I took English again, we did this one called the Poisonwood Bible.
I've never heard of that
This one is tough. It's about a Christian missionary family of 5, husband, wife, and 3 daughters, I believe, who go to a spot in Africa to be missionaries. Spread the word of Christianity, and it's like it's weird. No, it's bad and sad, and it was, you couldn't identify with anything that was happening.
Right.
One of the daughters gets eaten by fire ants.
I don't think you can get eaten by fire ants.
Or
you can get attacked by
they
them.
get devoured to the point of death. Does that count?
I don't think I don't know. I've read books about like people in the Amazon, and when they get taken by fire ants, like they seem in extreme pain, but I don't think they die.
Well, Cam, I am going to say that this is a piece of fiction, so I guess that is to say that there is some kind of
maybe I might be wrong too. Right?
There is some kind of suspension of disbelief because I'm already reading a book, and then like something else, one of the other daughters, like it just ends up like there's nothing you could relate to, nothing was cool about it. It was just like, wow, this is just a book. It's everything you hated about having to read books in English class.
What's that island? This will all come back in a second. What's that island in the middle of nowhere that has like a tribe that's been undiscovered yet? But people know that it's there, but like one time a Christian missionary tried to go on the island to... Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm sure this is a story that is familiar. I certainly can't recall times or area or locations.
The name of it. I can't remember the name of the group of people, but basically like they're untouched by people. Mm-hmm. So I would love a story.
Oppose all the people that have been touched by people.
Yeah, exactly. There's the guy who went there, a Christian missionary. He's like, I'm gonna go spread the word of the Lord, and they killed him. Mm-hmm. They've shot arrows at airplanes and shit. Like, I'd love to get that story. It's like, all right, we're gonna go check this shit out. I don't really know how you could do it, but that's one that I want to read about.
Yeah, and I think this story was trying to be something to that effect, right?
Right.
And that's what every Christian mission is. Missionary mission. A missionary position mission?
The missionary mission position.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
I like that.
I'm gonna write that down. That's an episode title right there. If I know one thing about the Two Cees Napod episode titles, well, folks, you got to say, of course, the Two Cees Napod business is ever expanding to the point where Cam and I, we have nothing to do with the production of the show. All Cam and I do is sit down in front of our microphones. Of course, we have
and just lay in our big pools of money.
We lay in our bottomless piggy bank. We have this beautiful time slot tucked right before Kim Mitchell, because of course he's going to want to come on Friday at 3 to 7 to play his own music. As we all know, Cam, the production is so far out of our hands. We aren't writing these theme songs. You and I are.
We don't
not.
even write our content. We just read off a board that's in front of us.
Yeah, there's a big
It's
white.
kind of sad.
There's a big whiteboard that's color-coded for the things specifically that each Cam and I are supposed to say, down to the word. Although what I'm saying may appear as though it's improvised or something, I'm just speaking off the top of my head. This is a carefully chosen dialogue written by the script supervisors
It's
over
to hit
here.
key demographics. If you notice in the intro, we were trying to hit both left-handed and right-handed people.
That's a good point. You know, it's really a podcast for everyone, which is what it's become. And I think part of that is our relatability. A lot of people can relate to being the CEOs of a large corporation, handling tens of millions of dollars, having
Ferraris. Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem with being rich is the repairs on the Ferrari.
Yeah, that's nobody thinks about.
Nobody knows about
how much
these things.
costs to fix a Ferrari.
Yeah. It's not even that it's cost; it's just a pain in the ass because it's always in the shop. You know,
you can't just go to Mr. Lube to get your Ferrari oils changed. No. That's not how that works. They fly you a specific oil technician from the Ferrari headquarters out there.
I wouldn't allow it any other way. It's
out there in probably Italy.
And then he wants a hotel, and you're like, I have a guest house. Why can't you stay there?
Exactly. My guest house has a master bathroom. It's a private suite. I mean, the guest house even has its own front gate and gatehouse.
It's bizarre that they don't want to stay there.
And they don't even want to stay there. They'd rather stay at the hotel or a motel, and then we end up settling on a Holiday Inn.
So, quick pivot before we get into the top 5 for the week. This is a real quick one. We're going to spend under 2 minutes on it.
We're going to spend under 2 minutes on it, Cam. I don't want to, and for you folks at home, this is a podcast which does keep flowing, right? When we say we're going to do something, we often will follow through. Cam, of course, it's going to be a little 2-minute segment. I got to say that this was a fantastic introduction. You really...
You're taking up a lot of time
You really swerved your way into a beautiful...
That's why it's pivot. That's why it's a pivot.
A pivot, a swerve, a segue, whatever you want to call it. And
Twist.
Cam, you got us there to speak to us for a very short amount of time, about 2 minutes in your estimation, of how much time you would have to talk about this little thing before we do our top 5 of the week. Cam, you have about 36 seconds.
All right, Cam, is Nickelback underrated or overrated?
That's the Cam. You presented a simple question that you believe would have taken 2 minutes approximately to answer, but what you've done is opened an Ark of the Covenant, because it doesn't matter what I say. twoceesinapod@gmail.com is going to be popping off with an answer. Now, Cam, you asked me this question because I feel as though you already have an answer in mind. And I'm going to say, are overrated or underrated? It's got to be like a mix. It's both. It's got to be both.
No, I don't know. They have some slappers. They have some songs that, like that song with Santana. Do you know that one?
Which song with Santana?
So it's a song with Santana. Look again from the heavens, oh easy to see. It was love from above looking down on me. There was drums in the air as she started to dance.
Okay,
and in the room. That one. And then ole, 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 and voices rang down the angels sing. That one.
And we're putting that in the positive category, correct?
That one slaps.
That one slaps. Okay, so that's a good one as far as you're concerned.
Yeah, that one's sick. And then like Photograph, not so good. But I mean, they got some song that slaps, and I think they're underrated.
You got to say underrated. They get a bad rap.
Yeah, I'm going with underrated.
They get a bad rap just for being who they are. You got to say overrated because they make a shitload of money and play a shitload of shows. But possibly underrated because maybe their true hits go unnoticed by an otherwise ignorant fan base.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do not know. Cam, that's a great question, and I'm glad that it only took us approximately 2 minutes to do it.
Perfect. Okay, well, let's get into the top 5 here.
Here's a top 5. Here are five tips about five ways to no, it's just a top 5.
As many of you listeners here are probably seeing stage 2 of their quarantine where restaurants, bars are opening up, I have here the top 5 faux pas that you didn't know for restaurants. And they're not specific. Well, you'll understand as we go on. So, the top 5 faux pas. Number 1, coming off the charts. Or number 5, sorry. If ordering a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, do not order Swiss cheese with it. It might sound like you're doing it fancy, but that is insulting to the people of Philadelphia, including Rocky himself.
Now, I believe, and of course, we'll talk about this probably next week in our ever popular notes segment. But I believe, isn't the original Philly cheesesteak Cheese Whiz?
Yes, that is correct. So we don't have to go back to the notes on that. Some people are very big fans of it, and some people say, like, get that shit out of here.
Which is funny because you wouldn't think that, like you think people would be upset about the Cheese Whiz, not the Swiss cheese.
I think it's just one of those. I don't know. I don't really know exactly why, but from what I have read, the people of Philadelphia have gotten to me. I did some surveying, spent a lot of money on this. The Swiss cheese, you don't ask for it. It's a big faux pas.
Of course, we got to say thank you to all of our fans in Philadelphia. The city of brotherly love, all those sorts of things.
Next up on the list, plan on eating at a sushi restaurant. Never dump your wasabi in your soy. I am guilty of this. I do this. I do a lot of things you're not supposed to do at this place. Such as other things on that list of a sushi restaurant is rubbing your sticks together to get the splinters off. When's the last time you saw someone get a splinter in their mouth from that? Probably never. When's the last time that you have potentially dipped everything into soy sauce? You don't think the chef has crafted it so it doesn't need it? Maybe lay off on the sauce.
Maybe lay off on the sauce. That's right. Soy sauce is really just a bunch of sugar, Cam. I'm glad you brought up the splinters while eating sushi. I feel as though that's a custom that people started doing when they did make chopsticks that would have splinters. But now, like, it's 2020. If they can put a man on the moon, they can make a safe chopstick that isn't gonna hurt your mouth or get your lips all splintered up.
Yeah, I think they got that down.
I think they got that one.
Wood technology.
I think they got that one under wraps. So our problem with this one is really just the soy sauce, not the wasabi itself, because sometimes we all need that little sinus clearing kick.
I love wasabi.
It's one of the best.
One of the best hot sauces, particularly because it's burning for a second, then it goes away. Like, the problem with a lot of hot sauces is they punch you in the face, and then they get you on the ground, they mount you, and they just keep beating you with elbows, even after Herb Dean says, get off of them, get off of them.
Even after Herb Dean, because if they had that Viking-looking ref, everyone would have calmed down.
Yeah, so that's a wasabi for me. It's that Viking-looking ref. Next up on the list. Now, this one I think is going to create some debate. Don't use a fork and knife with pizza unless it's deep dish.
Now, this is probably going to be a hot debate. You know, God, this one's tough. My dad eats his pizza with a fork and a knife because my dad is when he's eating, he doesn't like shit on his fingers. If he's having a burger or something, he's like constantly bite, down, wipe. Bite, down, wipe. You know, he likes his fingers to be clean when he's eating. So I think this is more of a cleanliness thing versus a pizza holding thing. Also, you know, when you grab under the crust because it might be a little bit heavier, the hottest part of the pizza burning on your fingertips.
Yeah. Different strategy, but from what I understand from reading thousands of published peer-reviewed studies, you're not supposed to do it unless it's deep dish, because then you can't get your hands on it because it's basically lasagna.
Well, there you heard it. If the source is peer-reviewed, that means we have to go with it.
Yeah. Let us know what you think at home, folks. Next on the list, never order a steak well done anywhere.
Never order a steak well done. Of course, when you're a kid, you'll probably you go to the keg or something like that, and then they ask you how you want your steak, and you have no clue how people want their steak. So of course you look at your mom, you look at your dad, and they'll say something to the effect of medium rare.
Yeah. My dad says wipe the ass and take off the horns.
The basic bitch of steak orders, just the medium rare.
Je veux le bleu, s'il vous plaît. Bleu.
Un petit peu de bleu. Which is fantastic. I think steak, you know, we gave too much choice. There's too much. There's the 5 options. There's like the that. I know the little trick. I know the trick on how to cook it. You know,
it's a fun trick.
It's
if you're listening at home, all you need to do is put your index finger against your thumb muscle, and that is probably like rare.
And then that's one of the steak.
And then you just keep doing that
across your fingers, and then eventually your pinky and your thumb is presumably the thickest. I don't know how it works.
The thickest, yeah.
But I know it's a trick that works. It's just fair. It's just fair.
Yeah, I like that trick. Sorry, I'm just getting some phone calls, but I'm putting away the phone because this is important. You know, my phone's just blowing up with recording people that want to record me for my sick Santana breakdown.
Of course. You know, we're really excited. We're working on the second podcast from the Two Cees in a Pod podcast universe, which is Cam. It's one of your solo projects working on Santana music. Do you wanna go further into this project of yours?
The Santana Project music. The second song on the album, other than my cover of the Nickelback and Santana, is just me pretending to play guitar and going.
Of course.
And it's like that for about 15 minutes.
And this is both in audio form, or you can get it in video form. Of course, we'll be there up on YouTube. Remember, our deal with Spotify fell through, so they will not be the exclusive carriers of the Two Cees in a Pod family. But that's okay. Okay, we're really looking forward to your future solo projects. I still believe that we have to get to our number one faux pas.
We have to get to the number one, and the number one faux pas. You Chicagoland people know never put ketchup on a hot dog in Chicago. Now, in Montreal, I think the same applies. You put mustard and relish on a steamies, as we call it, that bepramise. Same goes for Chicago. You don't dare put ketchup on a hot dog down there, or people will insult you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I would wonder, do they even have ketchup available on? And you know, you're walking around downtown Chicago looking for a dog. Do they even have ketchup on the stand, or do you think it's just mustard, relish, etc.?
You can put chili sauce on it if you want. If you
could.
What's your hot dog throwdown?
I like relish. Give me some relish.
I'm a relish guy too. Yeah.
Give me some
like
relish.
Onions. Maybe some finely chopped onions.
Well, yeah. Well, there's the difference of, you know, your mom was making you hot dogs when you were a kid versus you're going to a hot dog stand, kind of getting that street meat, right? Because then you just might have to improvise.
Yeah.
Of course, the first hot dog stand you went to, you're like, holy shit, hot peppers. We're gonna put some onions on there, but you know, such amenities weren't necessarily available when we were younger.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the finely get the white onions, chop them, just get them real fine, and then throw them on there with a little bit of either like that sharp mustard, a Dijon, or maybe a French's as well.
A French's mustard,
laughing.
Yeah,
French's.
All the way to the bank.
I have a cousin who puts mustard on everything. He puts it on eggs, which blew me away.
Yeah, well, I can see maybe a flavored mustard, a honey mustard, perchance.
For an egg, though?
Who knows, right? People
I don't know, man.
Slap it on. I'm putting Franks on my eggs.
I put Franks on my eggs, yeah. You know, another one is Cholulas.
I don't know what
you ever have that one? That's the one with the wooden cap.
I don't think I've seen
Circular
it.
wooden cap? No? Yeah.
No.
Look for that one in your local grocery next time you're there, folks. This podcast brought to you by Cholula's Hot Sauce. If you're looking for your bum to hurt the next day, Cholula's Hot Sauce is the way to that.
Are you looking for anus pain? Does your anus feel too good all of the time? You're thinking to yourself, God damn it, I wish this could hurt.
I wish this could burn. Then look no further at your local grocers. This episode is brought to you by, what did you call it? Cthulhu's?
Cholulas.
Cholulas.
Cholulas hot sauce. Cholulas hot sauce. You ever notice that your plumbing every 6 years needs to be cleaned to drain out those pipes? Get that CLR in there. Get that Drano. What are you doing for your insides? Cholulas hot sauce will burn the inside and the outside of you. Cholulas hot sauce, available everywhere you buy groceries.
Cholulas hot sauce, it's like a plumber for your colon. Cholulas hot sauce.
My dad makes his own hot sauce. He just chops up peppers.
That's cool.
And then puts them in olive oil and garlic. Mm-hmm. And on the weekend, me and my friends were eating nachos, but they were Doritos with cheese on top, and then all those peppers on top. I think I died a little bit.
That sounds like a cheat meal, Cam. I gotta say, that sounds like a cheat meal.
That's okay. I did 2 kettlebell workouts on the weekend.
That sounds fantastic. Making your own hot sauces, I'm sure, is fun for a lot of people. One time I watched people pickle. I thought it was the lamest thing I'd ever been a part of, but that's okay.
How do you do that? You just throw things in.
Yeah, it seems you throwing shit in vinegar, spices in there, herbs, and then
the lamest thing I ever had to do
away. It was
for
dumb.
For work was, you remember those Bud Light, Red Light things?
Yeah, you could set it to your favorite team when they scored. Yeah.
So, I was working in a warehouse for 2 days where they just we just need a person to do this. So I'm like, I'll do it. And basically what it was, with those red lights came in, I had to take them out of the box, and then in a different box there was a bunch of these memory cards, and then just put that memory card inside of the bottom of the chip, close the thing, repackage it, put it down. There was just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them that just needed to be done.
Did you work at a Budweiser plant?
No, that's the thing. It was nothing to do with Budweiser. It was just an in-between people. Yeah. Because
weird.
I guess two different suppliers. You had Budweiser doing one thing, which are providing the lights, and then a microchip company doing the other. And they're ship it to these people. They'll put it together before they send it out for packaging.
Weird.
For,
okay,
shipment.
so
yeah, I know. Or we're putting bugs in people's houses, but I never.
Yeah,
really
that was my next question. It really just feels like it's a GPS type thing. Some kind of...
It kind of does, now that I think about it, because it was in the back of a warehouse, and I was getting paid cash. So I don't really know what was going on, now that I think about it.
Were the last names of your employers...
Dimitrikov and
end with some kind of Kov or Ov?
Yeah, they're good people. They wear really nice suits, but I mean, who doesn't in Mississauga?
Yeah, those Russian, those Mississauga Russian mafias.
Yeah, so I don't know, but that job sucked because it was just same thing, and I didn't even have podcasts or anything to listen to. I was just listening to the radio, and this, listening to the same radio station all day makes you want to shoot yourself in the head. It sucks, especially The Edge, and it's this is the third time I've heard this song today. It's not great. And then you're I can't even skip this shit. This is so dumb.
The Edge is bad at that, especially there is some kind of novelty to it. I can recall I would only listen to the radio.
There is novelty to it, yeah.
I would listen to the radio in the summers between university. I mean, didn't have a radio in university. I would have listened to music while would have been home or something. I didn't have a car, so the only time I listened to the radio was driving in this truck due to a landscape, right? So my 4 months of the summer were my radio times. And it was the new Arctic Monkeys track came out. You're great, we're going to hear it every day for 4 months. And then I'll never hear it again. And then next summer, there's going to be another song I'll hear every day for 4 months.
It's tough. Radio's tough. That's why our radio show doesn't play any music except for Santana crossed with Chad Kroeger and Cam.
Of course. You know what? Here on the Two Cees Pod podcast, you will never hear the same song week to week. You may hear the occasional song, I'm sure, the occasional rhythm, the occasional beat, but we're really saving Cam's Santana Nickelback podcast crossover event. That'll be releasing in a few weeks. We're very, very excited about that.
Whew.
say.
Well, we've been diving into this pretty deep. I think it's about time to play a little game.
Right before we get to the game, Cam.
Oh, you have some more stuff for me? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, Cam, like you and I are both reading off the same specifically
Teleprompter.
written teleprompter
Yeah, I think
whiteboard.
I think they want us to think. They want us to think that we're, listenership kind of makes it sound like it's sporadic.
Exactly. There's a lot of when you see text written or you're reading a book and someone interrupts somebody, it's just kind of it'll hyphen the one person's speech and then right on to the next person's line to indicate that the line was interrupted. A lot of the lines that are written for us are written in that style. It's carefully chosen to interrupt somebody here, interrupt somebody right here, to sort of keep the improvisational tone.
Right.
But like you can read on the teleprompter, so I don't even need to introduce it. I'm really just doing it for you folks here at home. I gotta say, the podcast's getting more popular than ever. More eyes on the product, more ears on the product, and just more people to correct a few things that happened last week. Because I gotta say, this week we did get some notes.
Notes. We got some notes. We got some notes. Notes. We got some notes.
Only one note though.
Nice.
Only one note, though. It was just a further explanation to the infamous brewery marijuana grow-op that we seem to recall.
Oh, the Labatt Blue one, yeah.
We seem to recall some details and then couldn't recall others, of course. Just wanted to clarify this. So this was, it was Canada's biggest marijuana grow operation, of course, which is actually, it wasn't the Labatt Blue Brewery, it was the Molson Brewery in Barrie, just off the 400. If you've driven north on the 400, you've driven past this thing. I think it's on the right side if you're driving up north, on the, makes sense, so the east. The east side. Yeah. Anyways, that's
never eat shredded wheat, as you remember from a podcast a while ago.
Never eat shredded wheat. Of course, as we know, we're helping. We're recently trying to go into things that we can teach kids. Never eat shredded wheat. How to tell time. Où est la toilette? All these sorts of things that kids need to know. Anyways, yeah, that's all that I have to say.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Yeah, voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Of course, the brewery's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. Like, it's currently empty. There's no actual grow-up in it. However, this place was making $15 million of marijuana a year, and it was estimated to be in operation for 5, 6, or 7 years, somewhere in that. So this thing was making bank while it was operating by a man named Drago Dolik. There's your Ruski for you.
That's my guy. That was the guy. Yeah.
That was the guy who. Interesting. Okay. Well, he was of course found out to be running that brewery or the marijuana grow up brewery in Barrie. However, before the cops could even get to him, the cops already got to him. He was in the midst of serving a 20-year marijuana selling sentence in jail while they sort of made the connections that he was actually also involved with this plant, which produced upwards of $100 million.
So he was running it from jail?
No, he was running it, but by the time
he was running it while in jail?
Yeah, by the time they found the grow up, found their persons of interest, narrowed down that list to their suspect and their main suspect. By the time he was their main suspect, he was already prosecuted for another drug charge in the United States. So there was certainly some overlap there.
That's when you think you got away with it, and then you fuck.
There was certainly some overlap there, I'm sure. But yeah, folks, next time you're driving up, you're going up to Wasaga Beach, you're taking a nice weekend in Halliburton. Check out the Molson Canadian plant, and who knows, just open your windows, take a quick whiff, and just see if everything seems above board.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's his name again?
Drago Dolik. Or Dolich.
What a classic Russian or Ukrainian name. Either or. Should we get into a little Yedline Yasenai, Ohio, no Ohio? Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Hey, headline, headline,
Headline or asinine?
Well, that's a new one. Cam, we're about to play, folks at home, we're about to play a little game called Headline or Asinine. You know how the game is played. We have 3 headlines for each other. Sometimes they're true, sometimes they're not, but we're going to try to figure out which one is which. Cam, I got a headline here for you first. Coming right off the bat, headline or asinine, scientists say they can recreate living dinosaurs within the next 5 years.
Scientists say they can recreate living dinosaurs in the next 5 years. Well, if this doesn't rewrite the script for Jurassic Park, I don't know what does. Now, my concern is that it's going to be, like, automatically you're going to think it's going to be a T-Rex or something sick. But I imagine it's going to be, like, a super simple one. Like, a little bit of a variation of an alligator. So, I'm going to call headline, but deceiving headline.
Cam, you're going to call headline and a deceiving headline, and it is a headline, but probably not deceiving.
Is it deceiving?
I don't believe it to be deceiving, but maybe you and I will have a different definition of the word deceiving. Of course, this is an interview that came from Mr. Jack Horner, who is actually a man who consulted on the Jurassic Park films in an effort to, create some kind of scientific legitimacy to what the movie may have been. The interview was with him and his work, working with scientists at both Harvard and Yale, who are looking at breeding what we know as a chicken, and seeing how we can backtrack our DNA, or backtrack the chicken's DNA to see where it came from. Of course, as we all know, birds are dinosaurs. That's something we all know, right? So by fixing or by adjusting the DNA of birds now, we could make them create into more like the birds of the past, a reverse evolution, as it were, mutating chickens into the things that they both came from.
So I was kind of right that it's going to be a shitty dinosaur.
Well, it's not a shitty dinosaur. It's just trying to recreate the dinosaur from the past. This also recently happened when the Harvard scientists.
Dinosaur. We all want a T-Rex or a raptor. No one wants a shitty bird.
No, nobody wants a T-Rex or a raptor. There's multiple movies that show you what happens when there's T-Rexes and raptors. No, instead, Harvard scientists Harvard scientists are attempting similar feats by inserting genes of a woolly mammoth into an elephant.
Nothing bad can happen.
Cam, I think everything bad can happen. Of course, as we know, the 4 major differences
I personally can't see anything going wrong.
The 4 major differences between dinosaurs and birds, of course, are their tails, arms, hands, and mouth. Dr. Jack Horner and his team have already switched certain genetic traits in chickens that have, the embryos of chickens, rather, that have switched their bird beaks back into their previous dinosaur-like snout. The wings, the beaks, is not actually that difficult. And they're currently calling this new creation the Chickensaurus. They did nobody else to have come up with a better name for it. But the science is there. It's happening. Behind closed doors, of course.
Behind closed doors. Well, not for long. We got 5 years until that happens. Okay. Hio or no Hio? First of all, this pretense is it. Have you heard about how the new Ford Bronco's coming out?
No, but that's all I need to know.
Like
apparently,
the new Ford Bronco's coming out. That's obviously the one that OJ used to drive. So related headline.
Actually, AC Cowlings drove the car. OJ was in the passenger seat.
Whatever.
I'm just saying. If I'm looking for a getaway driver, I'm calling AC. I'm not calling OJ.
Whose headline is it? All right. California Body Shop.
Whose headline?
Whose headline is it? California Body Shop offering OJ upgrade with bullet holes and blood.
Bullet holes and blood? Did the cops know? I don't think there was a gun. There was no gun involved. Unless the police... did the cops shoot the Bronco? See, I always thought the Bronco came to like a nice stop and then he tried to run away. No, this is really just kind of bringing history into the question. Although I can see the morbid side of people wanting these certain additions, right? Think of people who go on murder tours, the Hollywood murder tour. You get to see where everyone's been fucking shot down or slain. So I can certainly believe. But was he shot at? That's what this is going to come down to. I don't think he was. I could be wrong. I'm going to say that's asinine.
Yeah, I made it up. I got my facts wrong. I didn't even know who was driving the car. Jesus.
AC Collins, his best friend. I don't think AC played. He may have played in the NFL, but I think they were teammates in college. AC Cowlings. AC Cowlings, are you out there? Let us know. twoceesinapod@gmail.com. I would love for you to drive me somewhere. Anywhere, really. I just want to be in the car while you're taking off. While you're taking off, Cam. I have another headline here for you. Headline number 2, or asinine number 2. Man arrested for camping on Disney Island. Claims he thought it was just a tropical paradise.
I don't know what the layout of Disney Island looks like, but I could see you getting arrested for that and then kind of making an excuse of it. I think he would just be like, "What? This is not mine. What are you talking about?" When they find all this shit in his bag, it's like, "That's Mr. Mickey Mouse must have left that here or something." So I'm thinking he definitely did it, and I think he definitely got caught because they just probably patrol it every few days. And so I'm gonna call headline on this one.
Cam, you're calling headline, and this is a headline. This happened a few weeks back, back when Disney World was closed, when a man was arrested for trespassing on Discovery Island, the 11.5 acre large island that belongs to Disney World in Florida. And when he was captured, that's all he claimed. I thought this was a tropical paradise. Charged with misdemeanor of trespassing and all these sorts of stuff. They tried to catch him on foot, on boat, helicopter. They couldn't find him for the longest time, and he said he was just sleeping. He was just sleeping. He would have had to pass. He would have had to have passed many "you are trespassing" signs. Although there are large enough sections of quote unquote tropical paradise on this island that if he didn't travel, I mean, you would have to walk an acre before you approach something that resembled a tourist location. So it is conceivable that he found himself on an island in Florida and was just surrounded by beautiful palm trees and beaches. So who knows? But either way, the man was not named, but he has been barred from returning to any Walt Disney properties across the world.
Really? That's kind of unfortunate. If he was honest, if he was fully honest and that was the truth, I don't think you should be barred.
Well, Cam,
maybe you didn't make it.
Cam,
you didn't make it very clear.
Cam, like you just said, you believe that he was caught, and you believed that he was making it up just to get off.
But now that you gave me the facts, I gave you the facts. So we'll see. This man, however, is not welcome back to the happiest place on earth. That's why it sucks over there. Headline or asinine. Divorce rate increase in Saudi Arabia up 30% after COVID.
Divorce rate up 30% in Saudi Arabia. What? Are you allowed to do that? And that's a purely sociological. I don't know. Women need to be accompanied by men. Women they're not allowed to show any skin. Rights against women are tragically non-existent. Are you allowed to divorce your husband? That feels like a thing that you would just not, you wouldn't even be allowed to. It's not even in the question. That's asinine.
That's a headline, my friend. You are allowed to get divorced in Saudi Arabia.
No.
Now, the interesting part is the reason that most of the divorces happen is because during the lockdown, many of the women found that their husbands had secret marriages outside of their relationship. So a lot of polygamy going along, and then they found that out and dumped their asses.
Cam, and you learned the word that you used the word. You recently learned, of course, we defined polygamy not too long ago here on the podcast. I believe it was. Really? So I guess you're allowed to divorce your husband if infidelity has been proven.
I didn't check the whole rules of it, but I think that you can just divorce I think
Okay.
You can
Oh, you
file
can just
for it.
divorce.
I don't know.
Okay, so
I think
you
you can
have.
file for it. Yeah.
Okay, so you have to be accompanied by a man to walk out the door.
Right.
But as long as he accompanies you to the city hall, you're allowed to file for divorce.
Yeah. I just get Jim to put that in the notes for next week.
Interesting, huh? Yeah, we're gonna talk a lot about yeah, because that whole Saudi Arabia place is a wild place to be. Anyways, Cam, I have one more headline here for you.
Okay.
Porsche driver charged for pulling hot tub on wooden cart.
Porsche driver.
Sorry, Porsche. If you're, if you're an asshole.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're an asshole about it, Porsche driver charged for pulling hot tub on wooden cart.
For towing it on a wooden cart.
For pulling hot tub on a wooden cart.
What is a wooden cart? Is a better question. Is that like a shitty trailer?
Picture
I
a
guess.
cart and then picture it made of wood.
I guess, but no one pulls things on carts. They call it on trailers. But maybe that's the headline itself, where it's they throw it in there. Because cart, I don't know, cart doesn't seem to make much sense. That's the part that's throwing me off the loop here. Now, could I see Porsche doesn't even have a tailgate on it, or a what's it called? A
Hitch.
trailer hitch on it. So I'm gonna call asinine on that for that specific reason.
Cam, you called asinine, but this is indeed a headline posted just last night from your very own Kitchener, Ontario.
Oh no! Oh
Of course.
no!
So this came out. A 54-year-old male was charged for careless driving when he, and I'm gonna send you this link so you can truly understand what these photos look like. The hot tub is upright, and he has it strapped to a little wooden cart, and that wooden cart is then strapped to the inside of his trunk. There is no trailer hitch. You are right. The Porsche looks like an older Porsche. I mean, of course, they're all pretty nice. This looks like a car that was
up?
This looks like the car was probably made in the 90s at some point. And yeah, just charged with careless driving. Of course, the officer said, had the hot tub become unattached from this homemade trailer that it was towed on, it would have caused serious damage and injury to anyone in its path. For those folks at home, just remember to follow the following towing safety tips. You have to register your trailer. To make sure your trailer is in good condition, have strong brakes to stop and hold the trailer, proper lights, 2 separate ways of attaching the trailer to your vehicle, a good hitch, and make sure the load is balanced evenly.
Yeah, I need to see this. I might know this guy.
You might know this guy. You may not. You may know the 54-year-old man. No, they didn't give his name, but yeah, he's funny. Cam, I sent you the link that you can. I sent you the link you can check out later. Because this happened.
But what do? We don't check it out now because
you don't check it out now.
That's
Exactly. That's how you get distracted.
That's how I get distracted. We don't like that. Headline or asinine: Kim Jong-un can't teleport. North Korea media admits.
Can't teleport. Cam, are you already sifting into the clickbait articles now? How bored are you that you're clicking on headlines reading that Kim Jong-un cannot teleport? It does raise the question, though, how many people thought he could? Was there a previously reported case that he did teleport and then someone maybe saw it and they were silenced later on by the government, for dispelling these secrets? I don't know. That has to be there are people who in North Korea will probably believe that he could teleport if they're told that he could teleport, so that has to be a headline.
That is a headline, and for generations there's been many myths of the godlike status of the North Korean leaders. Those included that they never urinated or defecated, that they were born on a volcano under a spontaneous double rainbow, that he learned to drive at the age of 3 and was able to teleport. Just recent, yeah.
This sounds like the resume of a superhero.
Yeah. Imagine that in their resume. Like, what are your greatest accomplishments? Like, learning to drive at 3 was definitely like kind of expecting the family, but I mastered it pretty good. Beyond that, never pooping or peeing. Pretty big deal. And born on a Donald rainbow, I'm not going to say it's a coincidence. So anyway, I think the article is saying that apparently they're trying to break down very slowly the godlike features of the power. It's all political play. I don't really know. I'm sure there's people in North Korea like, man, there's no way that kind of shit happened. We just know that we're all like pretty much slaves here. But this is a non-political podcast, but I will say North Korea is crazy.
There you go, North Korea. We gotcha. Y'all crazy.
Gotcha. Yeah.
We don't even know.
All
we don't
you
even
listeners
know.
from North Korea.
Oh, yeah, all you listeners from North Korea, give us a reach out, twoceesinapod at gmail.com. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Are you guys crazy? Are you not crazy? Are there actual people in Korea, North Korea, who could teleport? There could be.
Who knows?
For all
not,
we
though.
know. For all we know.
Probably not. Anyway, well, I think that did I start or did you start?
I have given you my 3 already, and I believe that
And
was
I've
your
given you my
3rd.
3.
That's correct. Yeah, that's how we
Okay.
play the game. That's how we play Headliner Asinine.
Sweet. So I guess that's the show for this week. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you for listening, of course. Kim Mitchell is coming up
subscribe,
right
like,
after
subscribe, and
us.
share.
He's going to play songs like Rock and Roll Duty. He's going to play Go for a Soda. He might even play Easy to Tame. If you call in enough, he might actually play it, Cam. You said it before. Remember to rate, review, like, and subscribe. The podcast is everywhere. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. And that's about it. Cam, your comically large yawn at 12:30 in the afternoon tells me that you're
Good day.
tuckered out, and that's you've had enough
That's not
time on the
work, yeah.
podcast. That's all I got to say. Cam, you got to say anything else?
Last thing I want to say is the famous saying, when you're sailing, there she blows, actually references whalers when they saw a whale blow its spout out in the 1800s. Thanks for listening, everyone. Tune in next week for your other fun fact.
Take care, folks.
Continuing
Tonight on Two Cees in a Pod.
96.7 on your...
Two Cees in a pod, 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 because we're two Cees in a pod, just like two Cees in a pod, two Cees in a pod
at gmail.com.